people are having a harder time this year finding summer jobs, and many rely on those jobs to help pay for college. So what industries are hiring, and what can young people do to set themselves apart from all the others? Recently, I spoke with jobs expert Hasten to find out. Casey, thanks for joining us tonight. The coronavirus outbreak has dried up many of the usual job opportunities that high school and college-age students rely on every summer. The April unemployment rate for teenagers aged 16 to 19 hit 32%, marking a high that we haven't seen since at least 1948. Now is when a lot of teenagers will be looking for summer jobs. What jobs are out there for them?
So that's a really good question, because the typical jobs that we would see for these kids, like lifeguards, my niece is one, that's what she's done every summer. And, you know, just in even retail, they are suddenly having to combat with unemployed adults, right?
Yeah.
My neighbor just down the road, he had his own business. He did entertainment for birthday parties. And of course, we know that dried up because he can't do that anymore. And he's now working a job that you would typically see a teenager or maybe a college student home for the summer doing, which is picking on the lines at Amazon. So I would say that this is the time when these kids need to really explore their entrepreneurial spirit and look to see, you know, how they can get creative in what they're doing. And so one suggestion that I have for them, and this will help their parents as well, why don't you go through the garage and find all those things that your parents have been meaning to get rid of and put them online for sale, such as, you know, you could go to Facebook Marketplace. You could go to, I think there's an app called Let Go that you could still make money, just not the traditional way.
Well, a lot of teenagers would usually work in retail, as you said, or even be lifeguards for the summer. But a lot of those jobs are just not available right now. Are there other jobs out there that you said they may need to branch out more, be creative? Are there certain jobs they should be looking for?
I think that especially for our high school kids right now, I mean, look at dog walking. You know, there's apps like WAG and Rover and apps like that, and people still need their dogs walked. Lawn mowing, I know that's kind of a throwback, but we still need our lawns mowed, and people still don't want to do that, right?
Yes.
I don't think you're going to find a lot of the traditional jobs that students would be taking at this time, and that's unfortunate, and that's why that unemployment rate for them is so high. But I still think we can get creative and think outside the box.
Well, let's talk about restaurants, because a lot of teenagers would work at restaurants in the summer, but many restaurant owners really don't know how many people to hire since the number of customers have been restricted right now. Are there fewer restaurant positions available this summer?
I'm going to say that's probably not going to be a go-to for kids that are looking for jobs for the summer. You're absolutely correct. You know, I'm a recruiter, and several of my clients are restaurant companies, and they are reducing their forces like crazy. And if they're not only are they reducing their forces, they're also reducing salaries by 10, 15. The most I've seen is 50%. So they are struggling. One client in particular is down by 70% in revenue. And so they are, that's not where the jobs are going to be this summer. And even if they are, again, you're competing with those adults. And, you know, I think it's a natural tendency to hire an adult over a teenager just because of that concept or that perception that they're going to be a little bit more dependable.
Well, let's talk about competition. Are you seeing more competition for summer jobs this year? And if so, how can teenagers make themselves stand out over the rest?
That's a really good question, and that's something that we really talk about as we're coaching our candidates. One thing that I would do is when you present yourself for these jobs, number one, make sure your resume is on point. You don't want any errors in that resume because there is so much competition. That's a really easy screening process to eliminate those resumes with errors on them. So make sure your grammar's correct, make sure your spelling's correct, and make sure that your resume is definitely on point when you send it out so that you don't get cut in that initial screening. Next, if you do land the interview, make sure that you go in with the mindset that You are going to do whatever it takes to win this job. Not that you're not going to be yourself or you're going to misrepresent yourself, but when I talk about mindset, I'm talking about don't go in there with a mindset of desperation, right? I have to have this job. Go in there with, I want this job so I can help you.
Some good tips there. And that was jobs expert Casey Hasten.